Dieter here again for another episode of Fearless Flight Live. And without further ado, I'm just going to get into it. Any words of wisdom for our friends out there, Dieter? Anything happening this week that's
Well, I mean, if the only thing that I just came across right before we got online is that it looks like Southwest found another way to charge customers, and this time it's those customers that are overweight or need an extra
yeah,
room.
yep, I saw that.
And it's, yeah, I mean, gosh, when does it stop the nickel and diming of all those airlines? It's just like, yeah.
Yeah. What,
So we'll see how
yeah,
that policy plays out. What I heard is that as long as the flight isn't completely full, you will actually get a refund for that extra seat that you had to book, so to speak.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so we'll see how that plays out.
No, they basically used to sell a person could purchase two seats, and now they can't do it. So
Mhm.
anyway, okay, all right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fearless Flight Live. I'm Captain Ron, and this is my first officer, Dieter Staudinger. We're glad if this is your first time tuning in. We'd like to give you a special welcome. And this is an important step in facing one of the most common fears out there, and that is fear of flying. First thing we want you to know is you're not alone. There are, I guess, between 15 and 20% of the 25% of the U.S. population alone, which would amount to somewhere up around 100 million people at the top. It's self-reporting, so that's why it's hard to pin it down. But if you're here, you know all about that. So we're glad. Our mission here at Fearless Flight is to move you from fear to freedom. And you check in with the birds of a feather, which I'll talk about in a minute. You can find other people who are along that same path that you are. So we'll every week we try to bring insights, tools, and real life stories that to show you that you don't have to dread flying. There is a way through the fear. And tonight we're going to go into a really practical topic, and that is how to overcome fear of flying. I keep telling people just go back to the basics, and because it seems like we never get past that because there's always somebody new on board. So I thought we'd try to speak to those who are just getting started and those who maybe have not flown for a while. So. Birds of a Feather group invitation. Before we go any further, I want to personally invite you to join our private Facebook community, which is our Fearless Flight Birds of a Feather Facebook group. And whether you're just starting to work on your fear or you've already taken some big steps and want to stay supported, this is the place to be. It's safe, it's private, and it's filled with people who get it and get you. So you'll find encouragement and some expert guidance, and most importantly, you'll realize that you're not alone. We call it birds of a feather because we all flock together. So
That's
if
very
you're ready to
true.
take, yeah, and if you're ready to take the next step, just click the join now button when you go to this link, and we'll see you. Make sure you leave a message who you are, where you're calling from, or
And I
where
want to
you're.
actually a quick shout out to one of our longtime viewers and fans, Tracy Solis. Tracy just flew, and I just before the show I went on, and I saw this beautiful video that Tracy captured of these towering clouds, and one of Tracy's triggers is turbulence, and so she was already preparing because where there is very big towering clouds, in her mind, turbulence can't be far. And I guess the captain had actually announced there was going to be some turbulence, which and asked the flight attendants to sit down as well. But then, lo and behold, there was almost like a little opening through the clouds, and it was in her words, a buttery smooth landing. And what I love about the post is she said she talked to the pilot afterwards, and he said, well, sometimes we just talk to ATC, air traffic control, and they allowed us to give us a little bit of wiggle room, and we could just chart the smoothest path to the airport. And so there was no turbulence. all that anxiety, um, I'm gonna say for nothing, because you know, in Tracy's words, it was a buttery smooth landing. So thanks for sharing that, and I encourage everybody to go over there, watch that video. It's beautiful, beautiful video, and of course, also take to heart Tracy's experience as well.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. Yeah, when we're flying up there, and you've got sometimes you've got big towering cells going across the Midwest. I know a lot, and we're up there. If there's not any traffic around or anything like that, they'll just say, "Okay, weave your way through there," and then when you get past, when you can go direct to Kansas City or St. Louis or something, they'll give us a point down the road. And then all we do is we just tell them we're direct once we get through there. And so they're very accommodating. And literally, sometimes if you just, it was kind of fun sometimes, see if you could put the left wing in the tip of the cloud as you're going by. And it makes a difference when you're in those big bumpers out there, because it's typically smooth between there. So okay, tonight we're gonna do really practical and hopefully inspiring how to overcome your fear of flying. We'll walk through the three legs of our fearless flight method, our analogy that we use, and we share strategies you can use right away. And as always, we'll take your questions live, and you can leave here with answers and encouragement if you're so inclined. So whether you got a trip coming up or you're here just to learn more, settle in and say hello in the chat and let us know where you're watching from. So how to overcome fear of flying. This is a topic, as I said, that really affects millions of people. Of course, that's the stated reason why you're here, to overcome your fear of flying, or flight anxiety, as it's often referred to. And if this is your first time joining us, I want to remind you again, you're not alone. A lot of people avoid flights or white knuckle their way through them just because it's such a miserable experience for them. And people avoid flights despite the fact that it's the most safest way to travel. And my goal tonight, along with Dieter here, is to introduce you to the Fearless Flight method. And it's a proven framework that I got from you all over the last 38 years to help you take control of your flying experience. So for many people, the flight anxiety is more than just nervousness. It's a barrier, and like I said, if it doesn't stop you, it makes your flights miserable. And with anticipatory anxiety, the way it is with some of you, it builds up months before you get on the trip. It keeps people from visiting, family, and sometimes keeps people from job promotions and moving ahead in their career. And it certainly ruins a lot of vacations. And I can't tell you how many people have come to me because the family was about to throw them out if they had to take one more vacation in their car. So the reality is, as I said, it's statistically one of the safest activities you can do. It's certainly the safest way you can travel. But your mind doesn't believe that. And I have a lot of people say, I'm not worried about crashing, Ron, but I don't like the idea of being trapped in there. And that's what I'd say a majority of people now, 75, 85% of the people that come to me, they're more concerned about the feeling trapped than they are. So tonight I want to help you bridge the gap between what we know logically and what we feel emotionally. This is the foundation. We call it the Fearless Flight method. And you can picture a stool with three legs on it. And those legs represent education, disruption, and community support. And like a stool with three legs, if one leg's missing, the stool wobbles. But with all three, you can stabilize yourself. And together, they help you not just understand your fear, but also manage it and feel supported by others who share your struggle. So education is about learning about fear and flying. Disruption is about breaking anxious thought loops, sometimes obsessively compulsive thought loops. And community support is to remind you that you're not alone and find friendship out there in the community. Okay, the first leg, education. And when you understand both how your brain works and how airplanes work, fear begins to lose its power. It's not the only thing you need to learn, but it is necessary to know a little bit about each, because when you either have mythological beliefs, or just simply don't know, it brings up uncertainty, and the brain doesn't like that. And you've got this part of your brain called the amygdala. It's like a smoke alarm. It alerts you to danger even when there isn't any. So a smoke alarm, you hear it sounding off, it means there's smoke there. Doesn't mean there's fire, and doesn't mean there's necessarily danger. You've got to determine that. And that's much the way the amygdala works in your brain. And you need to know something about flying, the basics of flight: turbulence, redundancy, pilot training, those things mentioned up there. You need to know why turbulence isn't dangerous. It's annoying as hell, but it's not dangerous. And we train for all these scenarios in the simulator where we can do things that we would never even consider doing in an airplane. And we do that to give us confidence and not have to guess when something goes awry for us. And you can use that same kind of thinking to learn about things up front. And one of the things that, like learning more about the amygdala, is knowing about it doesn't alleviate any of the functions like that. So you can know all you want about the brain, but you're still going to have to withstand the feelings that you get once that biological response take over. And so education is a big part of our Fearless Flight method. The second leg, and these are not necessarily in any order. In fact, this disruption or distraction is one of the quickest way that we help people get on an airplane. Fear feeds on repetitive thought loops. These are loops that you just can't stop. That little chatterbox up in your head starts asking all these what if questions. What if something goes wrong? Or what if I panic? Those are two of the biggest ones. And disruption, it means you break those loops. Now, granted, it takes something pretty interesting to bring your attention back once it gets hijacked by your amygdala. But that's what education does, and that's what things like the Fearless Flight Kit, which I'll talk about towards the end of the show tonight. Mindful breathing is a powerful tool, like our 4-6 method, or what I call heart coherent breathing, where you breathe in for 4 seconds and exhale for 6. And it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, and it allows you to put a little bit of comfort in your psyche. I know with in for 4 and out for 6, with as few as 3 reps of that, which is about 30 seconds, I've watched people calm themselves down a little bit. Now, not from a 10 to a 1, but a 10 to a 9. And that's enough to give you confidence that you are back in control of your destiny. Distractions, music, puzzles, guided meditations, all of these can help redirect your attention back to where you want it, as opposed to it being hijacked by your amygdala. And then in addition to distractions, what we teach is how to reframe. Reframing turns fearful thoughts into manageable ones, like thinking of turbulence as waves instead of something that's dangerous and feels terrible. And what we want you to remember is the airplane in turbulence is like a boat on the waves. It's going to bob and weave, but it's going to go with the flow. And that's a good thing for you to think about and do the same thing. The third leg really is the most important one. You wouldn't think so, but when you watch the classes, when we go live and we fly with groups of people, you see how important community is. And one of the biggest lies that fears tells us is that we're the only one. And that sense of isolation makes it worth. How many times have you had the thought, certainly nobody else could be this bad? When I get the live classes, it's very common early on for somebody to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that all these others are in here because I thought I'd be the only one. And when you join a group of people who understand exactly what you're going through, everything changes. You gain validation, which is hugely important, that you're not alone. Encouragement from other people. I can't tell you the number of people that join our Birds of a Feather group and put a notice up there that they're going on a trip. And it's just awesome to watch all the other people come up and provide words of support. And you get a chance to learn from other people's successes. You have people talking to each other, talking about things that worked that they hadn't thought about. So you're not alone, and you get shared encouragement, and you learn from others' tools and successes. We had one of our fearful flyers named Sarah. She had avoided flying for over a decade because of panic attacks during turbulence and panic attacks thinking about turbulence. And using our method, she learned how her brain's fear responses and worked, and she practiced breathing and reframing things and leaned on the community for encouragement. And her first flight back wasn't perfect, but she makes it. And I tell people, you're not going to likely get rid of your anxiety all before your next flight, but you're going to have confidence to make it a better experience than you've had before. And today, Sarah is flying confidently, and in her story shows that change is possible, even if you haven't flown in years. And we've had people that haven't flown ever in their life. The longest one is about 65 years. So that should be
So, Ron, let me just
yeah.
jump in here because we got a couple of well, we got a very active chat, but Amy, I don't even Morford Nebecca, maybe. She mentioned that she did a couple of phone sessions with you in 2019,
Yeah.
and she wrote, and she no longer has a fear of flying over land. However, her they're planning a possible trip to go to Sweden and Finland, and so I guess the flying over water is a different aspect of that. But one of the things she's mentioned, she's already trying to change the way she's thinking about it. And Amy, I'm just gonna say, we have our monthly free Cleared for Takeoff 101 classes. We obviously have the classes in Phoenix still. September 13th is the next one. October 4th. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe October 4th. It's the next one in Phoenix. We're gonna have some classes coming up in the LA area. So if you are in the LA area, we'll have at the Air Hollywood studio a couple of Cleared for Takeoff 101 classes. So there's lots and lots of opportunity. And of course, this week on Thursday, and I will send out an email after the show, we have our makeup monthly group coaching webinars. So we have lots of opportunities for you to kind of like join in and get your feet wet again, flying over water, get it? And
Yeah.
start really working at it. And I would highly encourage you also to jump into the group. And one of the best ways of using the birds of a feather is the search icon, and then flying over water would be, a couple of these keywords to type in, and then there are posts of other people. Often you have really helpful comments or suggestions from others. Those are just some of the things I can, off the top of my head,
Yeah.
how you can start supporting yourself in anticipation for that trip to Sweden and Finland. So, Ron?
And if all else fails, Amy, send me an email. Send one to Dieter. We'll get you taken care of. And maybe it's a good time. Maybe next week we should maybe just give everybody a little refresher in flying over water, some of the basics.
So Amy says she lives in Tucson, so that would probably make it possible for you to come to one of the Phoenix
Yeah,
classes.
September
Um,
13th is the next one. So
yeah. Okay, so
okay, Amy, don't sit there in doubt. Make sure you do something to get your questions answered. Okay, because it's totally possible.
and the key is really baby steps, and that's what you see here on this coming slide coming up here.
Yeah. What does
There you
it
go.
take? What does it take? It takes confidence. You have to have confidence in the airplane. The fact that you got to believe and you got to trust that the airplane is going to get you there. Equally important is confidence in yourself. You need confidence that you're going to be airworthy and you're going to get you there. And that's where anticipatory anxiety wipes out so many people is they just don't feel good and they start getting this biological response. They get, sweaty palms, start thinking of what it's going to be like to be in the airplane, to feel trapped. And that's where it all goes downhill. So education gives you that confidence by replacing the fear with facts, and disruption equips you with the tools to calm yourself in the moment. And I can't overemphasize that. Whether it's the harmonizer, whether it's a mindfulness or meditation, a visualization, you need something when you hit those spots where you just feel like you're going to lose it. And that is, people can't believe, but you can actually invoke tools like that and give yourself some relief in those moments. And a lot of people think that the whole flight is going to be miserable. That's why longer flights are worse than short flights, because they keep thinking they'll replicate those feelings. Not true. You can't sustain that kind of nervous energy for the whole trip. It's like going to a weight room and trying to hold two 10-pound weights out in front of you with your hand. Your arms are going to drop. Sooner or later, you're going to get tired. So when you do these things together, you get lasting change, and it helps you not only get on the plane, but also reclaim your freedom to travel. And in the last thing is support and accountability. And I haven't mentioned much about accountability, but it's one thing is to get support. Another one is to have an accountability partner out there. So if it's nothing more than promising to someone else that you're going to listen to the harmonizer for, every night for a week or something like that, it's helpful to have accountability partners out there. And what we're looking for is lasting change. We don't want you just to be able to get to your destination. We want you to be able to enjoy your destination and not ruin it by having all these thoughts about the flight back. And we've seen a lot of success over the years. And the key takeaway from this little refresher tonight is it's not to erase fear. Your brain is not going to let you do that. People ask me, do I get startled or do I get afraid in turbulence? I don't get the kind of fear that you do, but I get startled just like you do. So if we're flying along and I get one of those sudden bumps, I get jumpy too. But my anxiety goes up and it comes down right away, where yours goes up and it gets stuck there. That's what you need to do with the education and the learning how to disrupt your thoughts. Fear is a part of being human. You've heard me say this before, probably. Would you want to fly with a pilot who has no fear? Not me, man, because they'll take you places you don't want to go. And that's not what you want in a pilot. You want that has a reasonable sense of respect for fear, and he uses it, as we all do, to alert us that we need to do something different. And the goal with fear is to manage it, to shrink it down so that it doesn't control you. And every time you fly, even if you still feel nervous, you're proving your courage, and it's one step at a time. Progress isn't about being fearless so much, even though we like to use that as kind of a buzzword. It's about flying anyway. And courage is not balking. It's not struggling with fear. It's about flying or doing what you want to in the face of fear. And that's what we represent here. These are just some of the resources we have there. I'm sure Deer will put in there a free 15-minute coaching session. If you've never done that with me, you're wasting a resource that's totally there just for you. Most of the people that I've gotten to know personally started with a 15-minute coaching call, and I wish we had a way to track them, but I would say they are some of the most successful people that I've met in the last 38 years over here. There isn't a day that goes by, I kid you not, that I get either an email, a text, or a voice message from someone who wants to thank me for them being able to fly on airplanes now. And I tell them, don't blame me for your success, because they're the ones that made it possible with their own efforts. So if this resonates with you, keep connecting with us. Join our Fearless Flight Live shows every week like this one. Check out our group coaching webinar, which is, as Dieter said, coming up on Thursday. again, and something that you really bears notice is the Fearless Flight Kit. If you don't have that, you probably don't have the most fundamental tool that will help you get through that, especially with the distraction part that we talked about. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. It's the most important thing is to connect with us, with me, with Dieter, and with the group, and with other flyers out there. We're here to help you build your own three-legged stool so that you can be successful doing this. Um, the Fearless Flight Kit is something that has been with us now for going on 23 years, I think. And it doesn't come in all these hard copy things like it looks like up there. We use that just for convenience. Now it's in a very convenient digital downloadable format. So you can purchase it online and you can download it in the next 5 minutes after you go through the payment portal. And it comes with an app called the Zenler app for Fearless Flight. And it allows you to put the audio put the whole thing, but in particular, put the audio files on your portable devices so that you don't have to worry about streaming on the airplane, which is difficult to do at best. So,
And we're working on updating and
yeah,
making the Fearless Flight Kit even more meaningful and helpful for different kind of situations, whether it's turbulence, flying over water, whatever specific triggers you might have, that the flight kit will be a little bit more specific in addressing each of those as well.
yeah. As Dieter touched on, we've got some big changes coming. A major makeover on the website. We've got some really cool features coming up, and an upgrade to the flight harmonizer. So hang with us, even if you've been with us for a long time. So the Fearless Flight Kit, again, think of it as an all-in-one toolkit for managing your anxiety. It's got the harmonizer. That's the probably the most popular feature. It's a 32-minute guided calming audio that helps quiet your nervous system before and during flights. I have people listen to that 3 to 4 weeks before they start flying. And then during the day, if your anxiety gets triggered, you put the harmonizer on with a noise canceling headphones of some sort and listen to it, not for the whole 32 minutes, but just long enough until you get your attention back. Because you will get bored after a while with that. I've had people even fall asleep with that, even on the airplane. So, and they asked me, I said, gee, is it okay if I fall asleep? I said, absolutely. You can go through it and not have to worry. So, and there are practical tools and techniques like breathing exercises, reframing strategies, and mindfulness tips along with this. So we highly recommend that if you haven't taken a look at that, do so. And there's 100% money back guarantee if you don't find it helpful with you. So there's 4 main ways that it helps. It helps replace fear with facts. It helps you disrupt panic loops in the moment. It provides calming support for you on every flight. And most importantly, it helps you build long-term confidence and resilience. And this kit has literally helped thousands of people take meaningful steps to reduce their fear. So there's a link at the bottom. We'll put that in the notes afterward.
Yeah, I put it in chat already as well, and I already have seen a couple of comments of people that have mentioned how the Fearless Flight Kit has helped them. And again, if you're a Birds of a Feather member, type in harmonizer or Fearless Flight Kit, and you'll find a lot of unsolicited testimonials and just great feedback of how the Fearless Flight Kit has changed thousands and thousands of people's lives. So that's one of the things that I would highly recommend. Do your own research, do your own due diligence, go in the group, check it out yourself, and or ask questions of people that have used it and how it's helped them. So yeah, Ron, go ahead.
As Dieter alluded to, we're going to the monthly live group coaching webinar, which was supposed to be last Thursday due to some technical difficulties. I couldn't pull it off. So we rescheduled it for this Thursday. So it's a chance, if you weren't aware of it or you had the conflict, you could join us on Thursday night. And we're going to be talking about the concept of two selves, how memory plays tricks on you. So there's a difference between when you're actually experiencing an event and the memory of that event later on. And nowhere does it provide more cumbersome and perplexing results than in Fear of Flying. So I think you'll find it interesting. And this is the title slide from that. It's how memory shapes your fear of flying. It's going to be really, I think you'll find it interesting to talk about the work of psychologist Daniel Kahneman and what they found in their research about that. And we're going to talk about some ways to override some of the natural things that go along with that. Let's see, and things you'll walk away with, you'll have a fresh understanding of how your past flight experiences affected you, not from a place of fear, but through the lens of how memory actually works and why perhaps you got so troubled by that. And another thing is you'll learn some tools to help rewire your flight related memories so that you're not stuck reliving the same fear-based story over and over. How many times have you found yourself ruminating over the same bad memory that you have being cooped up? And that's what provides you, many of you, with the traumatic experiences that you do. And a third thing is you're gonna find out how to get a powerful shift in the way you view upcoming flights, not as a threat, but as an opportunity to reclaim your power. And finally, we'll give you a couple of guided visualizations designed to help your brain encode positive memories and create new pathways of calm, clarity, and confidence. Because that is the way the mind works. It's like carving a path through a forest. Until you get the roads beaten down there, you tend to want to go on the old traveled roads. And so you need a way to do that. And mindfulness and visualizations are one of those things. Remember, you don't need to change the sky. You just need to change how you remember that experience. Okay. So that's coming up Thursday night, 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern, for about an hour and a half. Switching gears here. We talked about Southwest early on. I wanted to mention I saw kind of a funny to me, not so funny to the people who got disappointed. When you go, some of you like a window seat, and some of you really need that window seat. And how disappointing it is when you get on the airplane, paid for a window seat, which is usually extra, and find out there's no window seat. And what happens is I can tell you without even looking very deep in this story, on modern airliners, the 737s and I think Airbus as well. I'm not sure on Airbus, but definitely on the Boeing 737, you get back about halfway to 2/3 of the way back in the airplane, and there's a place where you can see that there's not a window on either side of the airplane, and it's where they run the duct work for the air conditioning, which is supplied underneath the floor, and it goes up through there into the central plenum that's overhead in the center of the cabin, running down over the aisles. And that's so obviously if they run an air conditioning duct in there, you can't put a window in there. But apparently that's been a big disappointment for some people who paid extra for it and then found out that they didn't have it, and not a refund or anything. So somebody has gotten together and they filed a class action suit. Delta was the first one that it read about, and United has now been entered in that. I did check in American. Apparently, they do make an adjustment if you end up with a window seat and you don't have one there. So they file these lawsuits in New York and California, of course, where the big operations. And what their argument is that some airlines disclose when certain window seats don't actually have windows, but Delta and United apparently have failed to do that. And one passenger said that he described the experience of booking a window seat, boarding a plane, and discovering only a blank wall where a window should have been. And like I said, if you've been a crew member, you're not surprised by that, because that's a reality of how airplanes are constructed these days. So Anyways, we'll have to see what happens to this. It should be of interest. And well, I'm going to wind
That
this
is
up.
my favorite right there.
Yeah. So this is you're looking east at Phoenix's Sky Harbor Airport last night about this same time. And about 30 minutes before this, you're looking at what I was looking at when I left my house to go check my mail. And I turned around and looked to the east. And this is what I saw literally approaching at the end of my street. I had about 30 seconds. I got my little dog and we hightailed it back into the front door. And we had the worst haboob, is what it's called. It has cold air. When you get a big, massive thunderstorm, sometimes, especially out here in the West, where there's a lot of dirt, not much moisture to keep it down, and what it is, the cold air goes out ahead of the storm in the first downwash, and it just kind of like a snowplow, and it just stirs up all this dirt. One time I came into Phoenix from the southeast over the southeast arrival fix, where we have to go west, then turn north and back, landing to the east in Phoenix. And I literally, I saw a cloud like this. It went to 10,000 feet. It was some of the most extraordinary views you've ever seen. And literally, when you get in that thing, the visibility is about 50 feet. And that's what happened last night. It was still daylight, but when this thing came over us fully, all my light triggered outside lights came on because it was just about nightfall here. And this messed up the operations at Sky Harbor for about an hour. And I have a stepson who works on the ramp for Southwest. He got tagged for overtime because they had airplanes scattered all over the place, diverting because when they couldn't get in here. And I guess Las Vegas had something similar, not too long after that last night. So anyway, words of wisdom. There's nothing wrong with this. They stop it. The biggest problem they have down there is they didn't have any gates to put planes at. So people had to sit out on the ramp. And I know some of you out there, that's worse than flying sometimes, thinking that you're going to be trapped in that airplane while something like this goes on. And in fact, when some of these airplanes return to the gate, either to get fuel or resources or whatever, some of the people got off. They'd had enough and they said, I'm not flying today. But it just points out that when things happen like this is something that people are trained to watch out for, and you don't have to worry about that because the airlines are used to things like this happening. It's very inconvenient, but it's in no way does it cause any threats to anybody's personal safety or anything like that. So we've done it again. Peter, any other final words or any other questions?
Sandra actually said she booked a ticket and then found out from like a third party site that her window seat wasn't a true window seat, and they still charged her $10 to switch the ticket. So I think there are a lot of apps actually that show
Configuration.
the configuration, even based on different carriers, right? Because not every 737 has the exact same configuration, depending on who's the carrier and what and whatnot. So there's definitely, I think, some room for that suit to succeed.
And
We got lots of
one of
really. Go
yeah.
ahead.
I was going to say, and it can happen inadvertently if you switch airplanes at the last minute and you go from one model or a different type airplane to Airbus to a Boeing or something like that. It can happen also. But like everything, this will change the rules. Probably there'll be greater visibility. So
Yeah, exactly. And and then of course, if you are struggling with claustrophobia or whatever, or want to get out, then the aisle is a much more appealing seat for you than the window seat necessarily.
yeah.
So here, there's actually a question. Trying to register for the webinar, but it's only giving me September 18th. Yes, Kimberly. So the best thing, if you want to participate on Thursday, please send an email to Capt Ron at FearlessFlight.com and we'll take care of you. If you are on our email list, you'll definitely get an email as well. But if you want to participate, because we had to switch, so our regular schedule, the link doesn't work anymore, and since the 21st is in the past, couldn't put it forward, so we'll do it manually this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
All
all
right.
right.
Well, thanks, Dieter. Thanks, everybody out there. And we hope you found something useful tonight. Let us know what you want to talk, what you need to talk about, what you need to hear. We're more than willing to support you in any way we can. So once again, thanks again for watching. And that's it for this week. We'll see you next week for another episode of Fearless Flight Live. Have a great week, everybody.